Standing Committee on Utilities come to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chairman Kidd.
Here.
Vice Chair Bromley. Here. Representative Engel. Here. Atchison. Here. Black. Here. Brown. Fitzwater. Here. Lewis. Here. McQuarrie. Here. Simmons.
We do have a quorum, and with that, we will now move into executive session. I now move the House Bill 1684 be due passed. Any discussion? Representative McQuarrie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have some amendments I would like to offer. The first one I would like to offer ends in .01H.
Have those been submitted?
I have them right here. Oh, you want all of them? All right, the first one I wanted to discuss ends in .01H. And if you look at the bill, it's basically just adding back in the most basic of consumer protections on line 6. So we're just adding back in that unjust and unreasonable.
Is that it? Any other discussion? Mr. Black, Representative Black.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Of course, I know we have a standing agreement, if not a rule, that if amendments are to be offered, they should be offered 24 hours ahead of hearing. I understand that occasionally there's a problem with that due to drafting. I've never had that problem, but I understand
Lucky you.
It could happen. And so, I mean, on that basis alone, I object to the proposed amendment. But I would also point out that in page 2 of the bill, in lines 27, 28, just and reasonable is included in the proposed bill already. But I haven't had the time to analyze it carefully, Mr. Chair, of course, since I just got it, but I oppose the amendment. Thank you,
Any
Mr.
other
Chair.
discussion?
I would like to just comment on that. The reason we need it to be in the first section is because it needs to stay an existing statute for it to be the full consumer protection that I'm looking for, not in the new language.
Okay. Any other discussion? Representative Engel,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To inquire of the bill sponsor.
please. Yes, do you accept, sir?
Certainly.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you?
Okay, so I want to be clear, and as everyone is aware, I am a newcomer to this committee, and so I'm unaware of whether it's 24 hours of, business hours or, because there was a huge change in when we were supposed to have this committee hearing anyhow. So we've all been a little bit flexible as of late. And so is your primary opposition that it wasn't offered within the time period or the content of the amendment?
Both. I mean, the content appears to me, based on a 30-second review, to already be in the bill, but I haven't had time to analyze it carefully, and that's why we have the 24-hour ladies and gentlemen's agreement, if not a firm rule. And as you say, we have had several days since this bill was originally noticed up.
Wasn't the House closed, though, for 3 of the days last week?
I believe it was, yes. But
Right.
that doesn't mean this bill's the same as it was last year. Amendments could have been prepared.
Sure, but I mean, as far as drafting goes, if you're looking to draft a new amendment, the House being closed for 3 days during the course of one of the business weeks between 2 hearings
Lady,
is a barrier.
I was working on a bill with drafting during that period of time, and there was work being done during those days. Now, I don't know if perhaps my research professional was more diligent or not, but I can tell you I was working on amendments, not on this bill,
Okay.
but during that period of time.
So, I mean, House rules allow us to offer amendments on bills and to drop them all the time. And generally, it's depends on the political persuasion of the person offering the bill, whether or not it's accepted by the bill handler. And so, this isn't a House rule. And so it isn't. It's not a House rule to have to drop an amendment 24 hours before a committee. It's probably in the best interest of the whole committee. I think we all agree with that. But I think that we've been under a lot of duress lately. There have been a lot of things that have been happening, and none of us expected to be gone 3 of the days last week. And so, I would just
Representative, may I address that?
sure.
Normally, we would do 24 hours because of the complexity of these things. And seeing all the issues that we've had in the last week and everything else, we are allowing these to go forward now. So we are going to vote on these. These are going to be presented and discussed. So
Thank you so much,
we're
Mr.
not
Chair. Appreciate
adhering to
that.
So
Thank
we
you.
are making those exceptions.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate that, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
All right, any more discussion? Seeing none. I now recommend that House Amendment ending in 01H do not pass. Madam Secretary, for all those, we have to do record. I'm sorry, you're supposed to make that motion on the
Yep.
amendment.
I would like to renew my motion that we add the amendment ending in .01H to House Bill 1684.
Okay. All in favor, excuse me, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. No. The noes have it. The motion does not carry. Further discussion, Representative McCreary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have an amendment ending in .03H. I am getting in I'm in the process of distributing it right now. Thanks, Travis. All right, this amendment ends in .03H.
Listen, we don't have. Okay, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is the amendment that could be described to our constituents as making sure that the utility has skin in the game, which is something that we all talked about that day when the bill presenter was presenting the bill. So what this amendment does is it removes the corporate profit from any QIP charges. So the utility would still be able to recover the capital outlays like, construction materials, things like that, and the debt carrying cost on those materials. But the utility wouldn't be allowed to collect profit on a project under construction until the project has actually started producing and proven itself. So we're not going to it wouldn't leave the utility hanging for the cost of materials and the debt of that, but it's simply, they wouldn't be able to earn profit on that simple construction. So, and this is possible because through the PSC's work, they are able to bifurcate debt and equity carrying costs so that they can figure out what is what. And this, again, is how we can ensure that the utility has skin in the game. If this amendment doesn't get on, there's no motivation for the utility to be uncomfortable with cost overruns and things like that.
Any discussion on this amendment? Representative Black, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, the same objections last time, and even more relevant this time, because this is a complicated proposal involving PSC regulations and authority. And of course, we haven't had time to discuss that. We haven't had time to review it. We haven't had time to talk to PSC. We don't. That is exactly why the 24-hour ladies and gentlemen's agreement is in effect. Secondly, the utilities do have skin in the game. The bill already provides that the PSC can include or exclude rates. No reasonable utility is going to proceed with a project where it's possible that their costs might be excluded at some time from the rates. So I will oppose the amendment, Mr. Chair.
Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, lady, you clear to close.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'd like to close on amendment ending in point 03H, but I do want to reiterate that the way the bill is written, this amendment is necessary to make sure that the corporation has skin in the game. Otherwise, we could see in Missouri happen what has happened in other states where the utility has had no motivation to be responsible users of ratepayer money. And with that, I renew my motion.
All right. This will be another voice vote. All those in favor of the bill, please say yeah, aye.
Aye.
The amendment, I'm sorry. Amendment ending in 03H. Thank you for keeping me honest. All those opposed to 03H, please say no. No. The amendment fails. Further discussion?
Thank you.
Representative McQuarrie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have another amendment I would like to offer. It ends in point 04H. Yep, and it's been distributed, and I move for its adoption.
The representative moved for the adoption of 04H. Any discussion?
Could I explain the amendment?
Yes, please do.
Thank you so much. So this amendment is about getting refunds if a project's not completed. So we, through the years, have all been painfully aware of what has happened with some of these projects in other states like South Carolina. So this amendment is attempting to protect consumers so that if the project's not completed, the consumers who are our constituents aren't left holding the bag. So this legal phrase in here, interim subject to refund, would allow the PSC to order a refund in the future. And the reason that phrase needs to be in there is if this phrase isn't included in this bill, the Public Service Commission has a ban on retroactive rate making, so they wouldn't be able to go back and say that the consumers need to be protected after all. So that's where this phrase, interim subject to refund, is being used. So we need to make sure that after the construction happens, if for whatever reason the plant isn't up and running, that our constituents are not left, paying on this for years after year after year. So that's what this amendment will do.
Any discussion? Representative Black.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Same objection as last time. Again, we're in the middle of PSC rulemaking and rate making authority. We just got the amendment, and on top of that, the bill already provides the authority for the commission to do what it needs to do with regard to inclusion or exclusion from rates based on the commission's authority to determine just and reasonable rates. I oppose the amendment, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Further discussion? Representative McQuarrie.
I would just like to say that I approached the bill sponsor yesterday between 10 and 11 in the morning, and let's just say he wasn't real receptive to having a
Representative,
conversation.
we're not going to
so-
get into that now.
Well, I feel like he's
No.
making it seem like I'm being irresponsible, and I attempted to talk to him, and he was
Representative,
not
that was
receptive.
not implied. Please remain to
All right.
decorum, okay?
Very good. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair. All right. Well, I would like to move for the adoption of the amendment ending in point 04H.
Representative McQuarrie, move for the adoption of the amendment ending in 04H. It'll be a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The amendment has failed. Any other discussion? Seeing none, I now make motion that House Bill, gotta get my glasses on here again, 1684 be do pass. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Chairman Kidd.
Aye.
Vice Chair Bromley. Aye. Representative Engel.
By a vote of 7-3, you have approved House Bill 1684. And with that, we will conclude our executive session. I had asked, just real quickly, I had asked the gentleman from Spire to explain some of the things about rates, but we did not notice that, so we can't officially do that as a committee function today. So with that, this committee is closed.